Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live Friday question and answer class, where you can ask questions regarding American accent training, American English pronunciation, and anything related to improving your speaking in American English. I will take your questions in chat and let you know where you can find resources and answer your questions on both speechmodification.com, my website, and Speech Modification Seattle, the YouTube channel. Many of you have been joining us for our American Sounds Challenge, where we're looking at all of the sounds of American English, one sound at a time. And we're talking about accent error patterns you may have on those sounds and helping you to correct those patterns. We like to focus at Speech Modification on the words that you actually say. Hi, nice to see you. Frequently used words, the combinations of words that we use the most in English, because practicing and changing speech patterns on those words has a big effect on how well you're understood when speaking English. You may have some questions about how to know which sounds to work on or which accent error patterns you might have. Many people are aware of some of the sounds of English that are challenging for them. For example, the American R sound or the TH sound or vowels. But there tends to be a lot of information out there, and it can be hard to know what actually applies to you, what is going to help your speech be more clear. So if you know for sure that you struggle, for example, with the R sound or the TH sound, you can go to my channel page and find my playlists for American R and American TH. And you can also use the search tools to look up a particular word or sound or whatever you struggle with, and find resources and videos for you there. You can also use my website and use the search tools in the same way. But perhaps there are sounds or words that you struggle with and you're not sure why, or there are patterns in your accent that you maybe weren't aware of that maybe are more subtle than the TH or the R sound. So how to know where to begin? What are the sounds and patterns that have the biggest effect on your accent when speaking English? I'm going to show you where you can find that information for free on speechmodification.com, and it's really going to help you focus what you're doing in terms of improving pronunciation for being understood. Catherine has a question. How do you pronounce the word importantly? Okay, very good question. It's an important word. I do have a video talking about exactly how to pronounce important and how Americans pronounce it. Now, I can say important with my T sound in the middle, important, but Americans will typically say important where they will stop that T. And so when I'm saying important, I'm not really saying my T's in this word. So I'm typically saying it more like important, where I'm stopping this T, which means I go up to make the T, import, and then I don't release the air. It doesn't sound like import with a release of air. It goes up to T, import, and then it releases right into the N, important. And so then my N is what's called a syllabic N, and that means that it has its own sound. So important, the stress is on this middle syllable, and the ending is what's tricky for a lot of people. So you can say important or important and say that T with a puff of air at the end, or you can say it the way Americans do, where they're going to stop both of those T's, important. Now you're asking about importantly, and basically I'm just adding an extra syllable, the li syllable. So importantly really sounds mostly like this. Import, and then I'm going to put that in parentheses because you don't want to leave the T out, but you do want to make it a stop T. Import, and then another stop T. Importantly, with the stress falling here. So these syllables are fast, and this syllable is stretched. Importantly. Good question. Thank you very much. And something that people definitely struggle with. If I said importantly with my T's. It sounds very clear. It's just a little bit different than how Americans will typically say that sound, but it's not incorrect. And if it's difficult for you to make those stop T's, then go ahead and say importantly with the T's. Yes, you may ask your questions. What is the difference between wish and hope? Well, people will use these interchangeably sometimes. I wish that I might use I wish if I'm talking about something that I would like to have happen. So I wish my children would clean up their rooms. Versus I hope is typically when I'm saying I'm hoping something has already happened. I hope the children cleaned up their rooms. Wishing and hoping, it's a little bit interchangeable depending on the circumstance. So one thing I would suggest is there are a lot of really good English grammar websites and word choice websites. If you do a Google search and you simply type in wish versus hope, you're going to probably find quite a few different examples of how to use those and what the preferred usage of each verb is. So great question. Okay, so we were talking about how to know what sounds and patterns you might have in error when you're speaking English. And so I'm going to suggest that you go to my website, speechmodification.com, and get familiar with some of the resources here. So if I look on the store page, I can find my free downloads for American accent training, and there are quite a few. If I go here to where it says free downloads, I'm going to find the overviews of accent. And what I'll see here is that for most languages, so we have Amharic, Arabic, Cantonese, Farsi, French, Hebrew, Russian, etc., etc. You can find your native language and you can download that PDF. So here's Russian. And you can find what sounds you might have in error. So that's a free download, and it's going to be a really good starting point because it's going to tell me, for my native language, I'm likely to make these errors when I'm speaking English. Why is this? When we learn our first languages, we develop a sound system in our brain that helps us interpret and understand the language. There are places in the sound system where the sounds are the same as in American English, and then there's places where you have sounds in your native language that we don't have in English. English has sounds that you don't have in your native language. And also, we may use the sounds differently in English than in other languages. So both languages might have, for example, the Z sound, but perhaps in your language, you don't have the Z sound at the ends of words, whereas in English, words like was, is, use, plurals, verb forms, we have the Z sound on many, many words in American English. And so even if you have a Z sound in your native language and you can say it, you might not be putting it on the ends of words because that's not a pattern in your sound system in your language. In addition, what we've learned from our first language affects how we hear when we're listening to English. So you might find it difficult to notice the difference between certain vowel sounds, for example. It might be hard for you to tell the difference between words like live and leave, or sit and seat. That's because the I and E vowels are very close. They sound very similar to each other. And your language probably has an E vowel, like leave and seat, but maybe it doesn't have an I vowel, like live and sit. And so your brain hears that vowel as one sound rather than the two sounds it is in American English. Fortunately, you can develop the new sound system for American English in your brain. You probably already have to some degree if you're speaking English, listening to English, but you can work on adding in the error patterns that you have to really improve and help you. Another question we have, what is to be soft for you as a native versus kind? So Softness is really an adjective describing how hard or soft something is. And if somebody is using that in terms of a person's behavior, I'm not very familiar with that as a term. So I would say if you're talking about being kind, it means you're thinking of others and you're behaving in a kind manner, versus being soft. Maybe people do describe other people's behavior as soft if they are not aggressive, or if they're not taking a lot of action. But I would say that kind is a better descriptor for kind behavior. Good. Okay, so in today's class, we looked at how can you find out what native language errors you might have. So you can use the resources on the website. You can download the free downloads. And then I also suggest if you go to the free practice on my website and you use the online practice free trial, you can check based on your language using either the search tools. So type in your language in the search box, or you can look here in the categories and you can find information based on certain languages. So just right off the bat, I can look at if I speak an Indian language, Indian English, or one of the languages spoken in India. Here's the pattern for me. Here's some videos and some resources. Or Arabic, I can find out kind of the main patterns and some links. Let's just look at another. For example, if you're a Spanish speaker, I'm just going to click on Spanish and I'm going to see what comes up for me. And here are some of the patterns that Spanish speakers face. And you can go and say, okay, here's my top 5 accent errors if I'm a Spanish speaker. Here's an online course that can help me with that. Here's some materials, and here's some information about additional resources and training to help me. Today in our class, we will talk a little bit about the Russian language and how it affects when you're speaking English, as well as which patterns affect all non-native speakers. So you'll get some help with some of the most important accent error patterns. We have another question about how to pronounce congratulations. So congratulations has stress on the second to last syllable. So congratulations. And so my stress is here, congratulations. And things to watch out for in this word. We have a Z sound at the end, congratulations. This T-I-O-N sounds like an SH, congratulations. This A is vowel A. We want to make sure that's nice and long, congratulations. You don't want to be too closed off or use just one vowel A. You want to say A, sounds like this, A, in that word. And even though we spell the first syllable with an O because it's unstressed, it's the sound. So it sounds like congratulations. This vowel is vowel A, congratulations. We do pronounce that T, congratulations. Because it goes together with this U sound, it sounds a little bit like a CH, congratulations. Complicated, a lot of sounds in that word, a lot of syllables. That's a great question. I hope that helped you with that pronunciation. You can look at those various patterns and sounds by sound using the American Sounds Challenge playlist or my Sounds of American English playlist, where you can look up any individual sound that you may struggle with and learn how to correctly pronounce it, learn what words and phrases it's typically used in the most so that you can practice those and begin to change your speech pattern. Hello, welcome from France. Nice to see you. So let's look at some vowel sounds. And I am thinking about my Russian-speaking friends, but these same vowel error patterns happen for French speakers, for Indian English speakers, Chinese speakers. So this will apply to many, many of you watching. So one example of an error pattern that Russian speakers typically have is that the vowel ah, that's in words like not and hot, Sometimes we'll get confused with the vowel schwa, which is in words like nut and hut. So they might be trying to say not with an open ah, and it sounds more like nut with a closed sound. One thing I suggest for this is really looking at contrast words like nut versus not, and noticing that nut has a not very open jaw versus not has an open jaw with my tongue near the bottom. You can use my vowel ah video to help you learn which words have this vowel sound and how to correct that error. Another vowel error pattern many speakers have, Russian speakers as well as other languages, is the versus oo vowel. And this is another one where we typically don't have this vowel in your native language. It's in words like good and book. And what you might be doing instead is pronouncing vowel oo, which is in words like Luke and boot. And you'll notice that for many of these words, they're spelled with the letters OO. And so there's another reason you may not have this sound in your language. And you also may be seeing those two letters OO and thinking you need to do the oo sound. So the main difference between those is that oo is a tense and round sound. My tongue is tense. My lips are very pursed. Oo. So boot and school have an oo, versus this is a lax vowel where I still have lip rounding, but my tongue is a little bit lower and more relaxed. So I'm saying as in good and book, rather than oo as in Luke and boot. Another good word to help you with this vowel is the word should. That has a different spelling. Also the word put. So we will spell this vowel with OO, with OU, and with U. And I like using should because I have lip rounding for my SH sound. And my tongue position tends to be a little bit better when I'm trying to say should. So I can use that to help me with some of these other words. Should book, should good, keep my vowel consistent. So that's the error pattern that many people have for that vowel sound. And then lastly, as we were talking about earlier, you may have difficulties with the vowels E versus I. So this is words like leave versus live. Again, leave is a tense vowel. My tongue is tight. My lips are engaged. I'm smiling. Leave versus live is a lax vowel. My tongue is slightly lower, more relaxed, and my facial muscles are not engaged. And part of the problem with this I vowel in words like live and sit and bin is that you may associate the letter I with the sound E. In your language, this might be pronounced as an E rather than an I. And in American English, when we have the letter I, we often have this vowel I and not the E vowel. The E vowel in English is usually spelled with EE or EA or just E. So words like me, read, or sleep. You can get more help for spelling and vowel sounds on my website as well. You can use the search tools and look for vowels and spelling. You can also, in the free downloads on the store, download a cheat sheet that's going to help you understand the American vowels, how they're spelled and how they sound, and the most common words with those vowels. So what I would suggest is, first of all, using the search box. You could type in, for example, if I want to know more about spelling, I'm going to type in spelling, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And everything related to spelling will come up. So it'll show you that free download I mentioned for vowels. It'll show you specific lessons for different types of spelling. Let's look at, for example, simple rules for spelling American vowels, the topic we're talking about now. And what you'll find is there are links to other resources. There's information about spelling, and often there will be videos as well. So you can find consolidated information about what you're looking for using the search tools. You can also find more about vowels on my vowels playlist on my channel page. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it's a good idea because you'll be notified every time we have a live class and when I upload new videos for you. And if you're watching this class and you're not with us live, if you're watching it later, please feel free to ask your questions in the comments. I do always go back and make sure that I tell you where you can find the answers to your questions, what resources I have for you, and how to use those. Because I think that oftentimes there's a lot of great information out there about pronunciation and American accent, but it is hard to know where to begin and what to work on. So certainly, if you have words that you struggle how to pronounce, type those into the search box, see if I have a video for you. If I don't already have a video about it, then leave me a comment and say, I struggle with this word. I'll either make you a video for that word or I'll direct you to where you can find help for pronouncing the sounds in that word. Oftentimes, the words that give us the most trouble have several patterns, several difficult sounds in them. For example, the word girl. Many people struggle with the R sound and the L sound, and it's even more difficult when I put those sounds together. And then in addition, for many of you, you might be pronouncing American words correctly, but differently from how Americans do it. And so it may be that you understand something's a little different about this word, but I'm not sure what. For example, in the word water, perhaps you find it difficult to know what vowel is in that word, or you struggle with the R sound at the end because R is a difficult sound for you. But it might simply be that you're pronouncing the T in water, and Americans don't do it that way. They use a flap T, sounds more like water, sounds more like a D. So some of these details for specific words and overall patterns can be really helpful for you in understanding why you have an accent and how it sounds different, and when it's important to make changes to be well understood by Americans. Many times, if your pronunciation is clear, even if it's different from American pronunciation, it doesn't matter, you're well understood. But you might find there are times when certain patterns or certain words make it difficult for others to understand you. And so for you to know what to do about those times is my goal. I like to help you be well understood, to communicate professionally, and to use English easily and fluently and be well understood by everyone who's listening to you. So I hope that these resources will help you with that. If you'd like to go more in depth, I do have online courses that walk you through all of the steps to change your speech and the sounds to be working on, how to do that. Go to speechmodification.com and go to my courses page. And I'm going to show you, I recommend starting with my 6-week course. So when I'm on speechmodification.com, I'm going to go to my courses page. And the 6-week course is really going to walk you through those fundamentals. So it's right here. It's going to show you exactly the steps to take to change your speech, which sounds to do first, how to practice, and how to really see and change your speech. And you can take a look at all of the lessons and all of the videos and have it get a sense of what we'll be covering week by week, so that you make sure that you get an idea of all of the different things that we'll cover and how it will help you. This course also has MP3s for you to download and practice offline, so you can use it online and offline. And it's free for 2 weeks, and then it's less than $5 a month. So it's a really great economical way to take the next step in your American accent training. I also do have one-to-one training and group classes here in Bellevue. I work with people all around the world over Skype. So if you're interested in finding out more about American accent training, you can get a free consultation. Just send me a message on my website and I'll arrange a time to speak with you about your American accent training. So thank you so much for being a part of class today. We'll be back again next Friday with our live question and answer class. And also next week, we'll pick back up with our American Sounds Challenge and look at some of those sounds we haven't yet covered. If you're new to that challenge, the full playlist is available on my channel page, and you can go through and learn sound by sound or find the sounds that you have difficulty with and begin working on those. Thank you for all your questions today and for being a part of class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, You can do it. Speechmodification.com.